Bandai came out with a new TCG based on Gundam, and it's a lot of fun, but not quite as fun as Commander. But I want to play this, so I turned this into Commander. Now I'm going to teach you how to play it. The astute among you are going to notice that these aren't Gundam TCG cards. I didn't bring any with me today. But there's going to be graphics going around, I'm going to say here, so hopefully that helps you follow along. Don't worry about the mostly playing cards that are in front of me. Now, if you've never played Commander before or Magic the Gathering, and you're just like the Gundam TCG, why would you want to bring it into this card game? Very simply, it's because I really like certain stories and certain characters, and I like getting to have a champion at the helm of my deck, a person leading the charge, a story that I identify with the most, like the most, that I hate, I think is funny, whatever you want to do, however you want to get there, but I love the idea of building a deck around a story. That is a ton of fun, it makes me like the deck better, and always having one card in the deck that you can count on really changes gameplay in a lot of really interesting ways. So, the first thing we're going to talk about, and the sort of largest suite of changes that you're going to have to worry about and contend with, very simply, is just the deck. It's just how we've changed the deck and the tinning rules. So let's talk about those first. The very first decision you are going to need to make when building your deck is who your ace is. In Magic terms, that's your commander, but all of the names and terms have been changed to make this game feel more like Gundam. So let's go through it like that. Your ace can be any pilot in the game. It can be a pilot that is also a command. There are cards that are both in the card game. You can choose an ace that is both, but there's going to be slightly special rules for that we're going to talk in a second. The other reason for that is because you will be choosing your ace, a pilot, and then their supporter. Their supporter can be either another pilot or a command card, not a pilot and command card. If you chose a pilot that is also a command as your ace, that is the only card going into your battle stations, that being the command zone. It's a special zone outside of the game that you are going to be able to play these cards from specifically, and anytime they leave the board, you can choose to have them go back there instead. Anytime they would change where they are. Hand to board to hand, trash to board to trash, anything. Anytime that they would change which position they are in, you can choose to have them go to your battle stations instead. In terms of what you are picking for your ace's supporters, 99% of the time, it should be a command card. Machines cannot be supporters. They cannot go into battle stations. Gundam is about people. Robots happen to be there. Them's the rules, sorry. I also just think the game is a lot more fun when the mystery box that is your deck is full of machines and you don't know what your ace is going to be in. I think that's more fun. When you are picking a supporter, like I said, 99% of the time, it should be a command card, and under very specific situations, it can be a second pilot. The rules for that, I'm going to be honest, I haven't fully fleshed out or tested to my satisfaction, so I will save those rules for the very end of the video, just in case people are curious. For the purposes of this video, just have your supporter be a command card. It'll be better. Your ace and supporter should both be of the colors that you are building your deck in. The deck should still be a maximum of 2 colors as per the normal rules. They do not need to be the same color, they do not need to be different colors, they just need to both be of the colors your deck plays. It's that simple, nothing more to say about that. Regardless, once you have picked both your ace and supporter, it's time to build the rest of your deck. The deck limit, that is to say the smallest your deck can be, should be roughly 70 cards. a lot larger than normal, but this aims to be a much more casual format. We want the game to be more unpredictable. We want each game to be different than the last one you played. The game's just more fun that way. In terms of tinning limits for your deck, we are going to have pretty strict ones. In terms of how many cards you can have of each level, we are going to make them wildly different. These deck building really is the lion's share of the rule changes for this format. The very first thing to understand is that every single pilot is single tin. That it means you cannot have copies of a card if they are a pilot. Pilots are single tin. Very simple. If, at some point in the future, there are multiple different cards with the same pilot on them, they could be, that is to say, cards with the same name but different effects, or the same character with different effects, you can tin those as separate cards. They are not the same. They can go in your deck. Every other card, that is to say, commands, machines, and anything else and by the way, this does actually include cards that are both pilot and command. These are tinned not as pilots. You do not have to tin them as pilots. Those are tinned separately. For the rest of your deck, you are going to be tinning cards by level. The level of the card will determine how many copies you can have in your deck. The tinning rules are as follows. For level 1 cards of just about any type other than pilots, you can have the full tin limit of 4 in your deck. You can have 4 copies of any level 1 card. For level 2, you can have 3 copies. For level 3 and 4, you can have 2 copies. And for level 5+, you can have 1 copy in your deck. With a small caveat, any unit card that specifically lists your ace as the link unit, that is to say it has your ace's name written on it, and that is the only thing written on it, you can tin 1 additional copy in the deck. This means that you can have 2 Wing Gundam Zeros if you are building a Hero Yui deck. This means that you can have 2 Ale Strikes as well as 2 Freedoms in a Kira Yamato deck. The rest of the cards, however, do not gain this benefit. It is also worth mentioning, just to future-proof situations, that you cannot tin more than 4 of any card for any reason unless the card itself tells you otherwise. When building your deck, I still recommend you have a high volume of pilots in there. The reason pilots are single tin is because the game ends up being more fun that way. It just feels like you cycle into more things are less regular, and additionally, you have 1 pilot guaranteed, basically always in your hand at all times. So you're probably going to link with the most powerful things in your deck and have moments of extreme power regardless. So it may feel restrictive. I promise you, it's a really fun way to build the deck, and it makes the actual gameplay a lot more fun. One last thing to mention, however, is that whatever supporter you use, that is to say, the card that is going into battle stations that isn't your ace, you can only have 1 of that in your deck, even if you could normally tin multiple. Once you have the deck built, believe it or not, you're most of the way done. There's only a couple of rules and just specific to how you play your ace, how your ace does things, and some smaller general rules that happen as gameplay goes on that are different. But for the most part, outside of specifically the rules I'm about to list, the game behaves exactly like normal. So let's go through it. The very first rule to consider is when you do your setup. After you've drawn your 5 cards, determined your mulligan, what have you, it's time to build your shields. When you build your shields, we are going to add 1 additional shield for each additional player. This is a very specifically multiplayer format. We are looking for larger games, 3, 4, 5, 6 players. To sustain games that large, we want to have a lot of shields. So, if we are playing with 2 players, you are going to do your 6 normal shields. If you're playing with 3, you have 7, 4, 8, 5, 9, and so on. When it actually comes to playing the game, we're going to talk over the specific uses of your ace and their supporter, because this is a little different from Commander if you're familiar with it. The first thing we're going to set up is when we think about our battle stations, that is to the command zone equivalent, we are going to have our supporter card first. I'm going to represent it with, I'm just going to represent it with a black card here, but we are going to have our supporter card first, above our deck usually, and then we are going to place our ace on top of it. This is going to be somewhat important later. Now, as you are actually playing through the game, you're going to start setting up resources, using them to play cards. You're going to probably link pilots in there at some point. Playing the game normally, you are going to eventually want to play your ace. Keep in mind, your ace is still the level it says it is. If you choose an incredibly powerful pilot, like Full Frontal, to be your ace, you are going to have access to Full Frontal whenever you want, but you do have to hit the level first. The lower the level of the ace, the more you're going to see them throughout the game. Pretty handy and something to keep in mind. When it comes time to actually play your ace, they are going to cost however much it says they cost already. Very, very simple. If my ace costs 1, I can pay 1 to play my ace and throw it in whatever unit I want to. However, every time I play my ace, they are going to gain 1 exhaustion. I don't have any dice on me. I kind of came to the studio a little unprepared, but this is going to function as very similarly to Commander Tax in Magic the Gathering. Each time you play your ace, they are going to gain 1 exhaustion, and whenever you go to play them, if this unit is destroyed, my ace will go back to battle stations, and the next time I play them, they are going to cost 1 plus whatever exhaustion they have on them. Keep in mind, there is one exception to this. If your ace is piloting a unit that specifically lists them as the link unit, it has their name in the link zone, and that unit is level 5 or higher, you still gain the exhaustion. The cost goes up once you've played them, but you do not have to pay exhaustion for your ace to link with a unit with them listed in the text box. This effect does come with a cost, though. This is where we're going to talk about quantum entanglement. For Magic the Gathering, you can just think of it as the legendary rule. Quantum entanglement, for the purposes of our game, very simply means that you can only have 1 of certain cards on the board at the same time. This is only going to come up in very, very certain situations, but they are worth talking about. The first one is certain pilots. You will remember when we built our tinning rules that we said that you could only have 1 of each copy of a pilot in your deck, and in some circumstances, 1 of each of a bunch of different things. The first thing we're going to think about is that pilots with the same name that are different cards. This isn't true at the time of recording, but let's be real, there are going to be more than a handful of Char Aznables one day that have different effects. Each one of those is entangled with each other, meaning if ever I had 2 Char Aznables and I already had 1 on the board, if I tried to play another one, I would have to sacrifice 1 of them right then and there. Now, this is going to happen at a kind of nebulous speed. The very basic reason for this is because there are some cards in the game, think Unicorn Destroy mode and Unicorn mode, that are going to end up entangled with each other. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that have effects based on whether or not they are on the board already. So for this specific reason, if an effect triggers based on seeing another card on the board, we will allow it to exist to recognize the effect written on the card before it's simply destroyed. When this happens, you just put it in the trash. No, I didn't change my shirt. You should get your eyes checked. The other major source of quantum entanglement in this game is going to be any unit, no matter its level, that specifically lists your ace as its link pilot. Now, this might seem pretty restrictive, especially because you can tin one additional copy of each card your ace can specifically link with in the deck, but it does lead to the built-in combo of the deck, because in this format, if ever you have your ace already linked with a machine and you play another card that specifically links your ace, if these two are quantum entangled, if you have your ace in some random Gelgoog, this won't trigger. But if you have two units, if you have Hero Yui in Wing Gundam and then play Wing Gundam Zero or some other situation similar, you could play two different versions of Ariel. You could play half of the things that Char Aznable piloted in the Xeon lines, whatever. Regardless, you will be able to, once you play the Quantum Entangled card, you will immediately have to sacrifice one of them, but if you sacrifice the one your ace is currently in, your ace will immediately pilot the other one, taking away its summoning sickness. What this means you can do, and what I would even go as far as to say an intended effect of this system, is that I can link my ace with a unit that they are designed to link with, attack with that unit, play a different unit they link with, sacrifice the one I just attacked with, my ace goes into it, attack with that one, play another unit my ace links with, sacrifice the one that they were just in that attack, put it in the next unit, and attack again, getting 3 attacks with my ace in one turn. This is an incredibly powerful combo, and it's a great way to try and flatten your opponent's board, make use of some of the cards that your ace can link with, and make it really feel like your ace is doing the lion's share of the fighting. It's a fun mechanic. I ask that you give it a try before you go tweaking it. Now let's talk about when you can play your supporter. Now, keep in mind, for the purposes of this video, your supporter is only going to be a command card, here represented by a black sleeved card. There will be a graphic somewhere on screen to try and help you along, but we are going to have your ace on top and your supporter underneath it. When you play your ace, it should reveal the supporter underneath. So long as it is revealed, you can play it. It is that simple. If I play my supporter, or if I play my ace, I link it to a unit, and then that unit goes out and dies before I get to play my supporter, then it gets covered back up, and I'm unable to play it. When playing supporters, unlike when playing your ace, they do not get exhausted. If I were to play my ace and then play my supporter, it is only ever going to cost as much as it says on the card. I do still have to follow the level requirements. Keep that in mind. If you aren't high enough level to play the supporter, you can't. It's that simple. When playing your supporter, I often like to think of it, and I'm going to represent it with another white card just so it's more visibly here. I like to do the following thing. I would play my ace, put it in a card, then go to play my supporter, and when I do that, very, very simply, I rest it inside of battle stations to signify that I've already played it for while my ace is out. The big difference here is that when you go to your awaken step at the beginning of your turn, battle stations do not awaken. Specifically, battle stations and your ace. I'll talk about that in just a moment. So the obvious question is, well, when does my supporter awaken? Very simply, whenever your ace returns to battle stations. So, if I play my ace, I then go out, I play my supporter card, it's rested in battle stations, and then this unit dies, I put it back in battle stations and awaken the supporter underneath it, so that the next time I play my ace, it is rested, and it is awakened, and I can just rest it and play it again. It's that simple. The result of this system should be that you have ready access to your supporter cards so long as your ace is on the field. This means that you might want to throw your ace into a dinkier unit just to make sure that you have access to potentially a pretty powerful supporter card in your zone. The biggest difference in this system is going to be when your ace is both a pilot and a command card. In this specific circumstance, the reason why you don't get a supporter card is because your ace is both already. Let me show you how it works. Very, very basically, what you're going to do during play is you're going to have a unit, you are going to have your ace pilot that unit, and then when you want to activate the command part of your ace, you are going to rest your ace underneath the unit it is piloting. So it will end up looking like this. You're going to go from having a rested ace, I'm going to swap that out so that it's easier to see. It's also worth mentioning that if your ace is a command, the command part of your ace does not face exhaustion when you're playing it either. You only ever have to pay exhaustion when your ace is going to pilot a unit. There are only 2 other rules to worry about while you're playing Command Gundam, I guess. I don't have a specific name for it, you can call it whatever you like. This rule has to do specifically with your shields, that is to say how you end the game. I understand that I really like a format with as many people as I can get. I like to play with as many of my friends as possible, but I still want the game to feel balanced. That's kind of hard to do when just in my playtesting, the simpler and sort of more faster paced and more interesting tactically way to play the Gundam TCG with multiple people is that the very first person who gets knocked out, the person who defeated them, is the winner of the game. Everyone loses at once, the game ends as soon as one person is knocked out. It keeps players from being sort of sidelined, it makes sure that everyone's playing as often as they can, and in large player games, that can be a little difficult to balance. So what we're going to do, especially given the ace and tinning rules, you never quite know what you're gonna get, when your last shield is destroyed, you are going to, in that instant, all of your units are going to gain blocker. All of them at once. This is in order to hopefully get you to your next turn. It means that you are less punished for being ganged up on, and you have a fighting chance, assuming there aren't too many players before you. Hopefully, at least in the games that I've played, this is sort of worked out a lot in the testing, is that the person who gets their shields knocked out first has a really good shot at winning if they held on to the right stuff or if they have enough awakened units on their board at the time. You do have to make it all the way to your turn with whatever board you have. It's risky, but doable. Just there to give you a fighting chance. The last rule actually hasn't shown up a lot in testing, I'll be honest with you, but I still feel it's important to the flow of the game. Just in case it shows up, it's worth telling you about. The idea here is that any time, or specifically at the end of your turn, if you have any 3 pilots in your trash, this can include pilots that are also a command card, and this is in fact the reason why you can tin pilots that are command card as normal cards, but if ever you have 3 pilots in your trash at the same time, at the end of that turn, you are going to shuffle them into your deck. That is going to happen at the end of your turn, and keep in mind that your ace should really never end up in your trash. If your ace is in the trash, something horrible has gone wrong. It's also worth mentioning, just to future-proof the game, that this is a may ability. At the end of your turn, if you have 3 pilots in the trash, you may shuffle them into your deck. Hi there, and thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I really, really appreciate it. This is something I'd really like to do more often. I have done something very similar in just like grabbing games by the bones and rearranging them to just be something new. Try to take single player games and make them multiplayer, making my own formats and board games, video games, you name it. This is something I've done my entire life. And most recently with the Gundam TCG, which I really want to succeed, so I thought, you know, I would love for this to just be something people do out there. I would really love to bump into people at my local game store or at a convention and see other people playing the game this way, or even for Bandai to try and print cards that would be interesting in this format. That all sounded really fun to me. I figured why not? I'd do something like this, but I loved making this video. I'd love to make more like it, and this is honestly, yeah, this is one of the first videos I've made that I like enough, that I'm proud of enough, that I'd like to ask you to subscribe if you think you got something out of it. If you wanted to see me do this to more games, if people watch this, I absolutely will. I really want to make a series like that. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was worth it to you. I hope you play this format. I hope you can show this to your friends and have some fun. And as a special thanks to making it all the way to the end, I don't have them in front of me. You can kind of tell that I had to record portions of this much later. I wasn't planning on being on camera today, so I apologize if I'm a bit of a mess. But as a thanks for making it all the way to the end here, I'd like to just share with you some of the decks me and my friends have built in this format already, and kind of what they do. I will say out the gate that, like, I mentioned it at the very beginning of the video. It really has not materialized. I've played it. It hasn't been very good, but like the one specific reason I would like a pilot as the second supporter, I said I would talk about it at the end, so here it is because I really, like, for whatever reason, romance is just one of my favorite genres. It just is. I'm a big fluff ball. I like it when people are happy. That makes me happy. So I really, really specifically wanted to make an Athranzala and Kigali deck. And my friend has already made a Kigali deck with the Athranzala command. So I just didn't have... I just had no Kigali command I could use, so it was like, well, what would the rules look like if I could make it 2 pilots? Just to talk about them very quickly, and I promise I'll get to the decks we've made, but basically what we determined is that the second pilot, their existence is contingent on your ace still being alive. So if the unit your ace is in dies, or your ace for whatever reason goes to the trash, or back to battle stations, I guess, the supporter that is also a pilot goes with them. They leave the board too. This can mean that, like, a unit just loses a pilot instantly. It's not good. It's not a good rule. It's very, very exploitable for your opponent. You're basically down a supporter for the most part, but, you know, having extra pilots, especially when you're just kind of throwing around low-level units, is kind of handy. So maybe someone else will make more use of it than I did. That's what I did. That in mind, the decks we've actually built, my favorite deck, my favorite character is Banagher Lynx. Unicorn Gundam is like the first Gundam show I ever like watched and loved. When I went to Japan, I remember like one of the things I wrote down is like, I have to see the Unicorn Gundam. I have to see it. The Unicorn Gundam statue. That must happen. So I absolutely have a Banagher Lynx deck that doesn't have it doesn't do anything specific. It's just a blue-red deck that kind of balances offense and defense. It's just a very, very basic, like, just because I think Sinanju and Full Frontal are rad, so I thought it'd be neat to have them in a deck. In terms of decks that are actually really fun, I've built one of my favorite decks to play is, I call it my Kira Blocks deck, specifically because there are so many different versions of the strike, and they all have blocker, and they all link specifically with Kira. So what the deck ends up being is that and since I can tin one more of them, I just have a ton of different versions of the strike. I play that, I throw Kira in it, and then he blocks as much as he can before he dies and has to just keep building up exhaustion until eventually I have to throw in the L Strike and the Freedom. And then he is just face tanking everyone. He is fighting every single pilot. That is his job, is to just block for me, because just when I opened a box, I built a deck that I thought was going to be really good at blocking, and then I realized that like every card that had blocker in it was the strike. And with the entanglement rules, that just built a really funny situation, and I ended up leaning into that. The rest of the deck can attack, and its win condition is to get like mid-air modifications or the Archangel, so that Kira can actually go and fight anybody for any reason, because he's kind of stay at home the rest of the time. That's a really fun deck. I really enjoy it. A friend of mine, one of the decks they built, they call it their block and breach deck. The ace is the Troa Barton that is both a command and a ace, and so what he does is he plays it as the ace, and then whenever he needs to do damage to somebody, he activates Troa as a command, so he taps it he rests it rather, underneath the unit on top of it to give it breach, and then slam into people. So the idea is that basically every single machine in his deck can have breach so long as he can put Troa Barton into it. It's a really, really cool deck. It's interesting to play against, and it kind of shows some of the dynamism of the format. Like, there's some really fun stuff you can do there. Let's see. A really terrifying deck, actually. Very, very scary. Is my friend built a Char Aznable deck, which specifically the thing Char Aznable does is it gives your unit high maneuver, which means that the goal of the deck, especially because everything in the like Char, there aren't a lot of like high value cards that link with Char Aznable. They just don't exist yet. There aren't high-level cards, so you're always paying exhaustion for Char Aznable, and then you need to play Char Aznable to get to your supporter to, like, set up your board. But the idea is that it's just a bunch of really low-cost Xeon units, and the goal is to break your opponent's shields, your opponent's entire board, gains blocker because of the rule of the format, and then Char Aznable just kills with high maneuver. So the idea is that Char Aznable is trying to assassinate, and for everybody else, because they have to play Char to get to their supporter to keep up, because, you know, just having an ace and command, like, in battle stations all the time can really, like, get decks going quickly. Like, a deck never quite has nothing to do. They have to be playing Char to get to other things, and also just to try and, like, maneuver the board properly. But it really lends itself to a situation where, like, you have to just try and stack as much exhaustion on Char as you can if you're the opponent, or it can just kill you. It's a really cool deck. It builds those, like, really fun political situations you see in Commander. I really like playing against it. I'm trying to think. I'm putting myself on the spot here a little bit. I didn't really plan this ahead of time. I'm sorry. But there's one really, really funny, I think it's just mono red deck, which all the deck does. No, it's a Soletta Mercury deck, because different versions of Ariel get you commands back. And there are a lot of red Xeon units that just kind of give things extra AP. So the idea of the deck is to try and, like, cycle your own units to force Soletta, to try and force Soletta Mercury into multiple things, not to attack multiple times, but because whenever Soletta attacks, you unrest a resource, so you can actually, with the quantum entanglement rules, you can, like, squeeze out more commands than you should be able to in a turn, and that allows you to just get your units really, really big and force massive confrontations with, like, you have a unit with, like, 13 AP going in to somebody's base, and it's just really funny. It's a really cool deck. It's really neat. These are just, like, the decks that exist from, like, New Type Rising. Like, these are there are more we didn't build just because we only had so many cards. But, like, it's a really cool format. I promise you. Like, these decks are really neat, and they, like, build. You can, like, actually build craft and make a deck that, like, achieves something, and it's always cool to do. Like, I love I love doing it. I do wish the command and pilot alt arts cost less. But what are you gonna do if this format sees any success? I think that they might actually cost more, which would kind of suck. But yeah, it actually the like P Bandai just made. There's like a Hero Yui, and there's like oh my goodness, Relaine Peacecraft or Melanie Peacecraft. I can't remember her name right now. I apologize. But like they created like alt art cards for those, and that is one of my favorite decks to play. And Hiro Yui and her are the two cards that there aren't alt arts for. So, and of course I missed the pre-order, but I just think it's funny, and I kind of hope that they keep doing that because I like pretty card art. Who doesn't? And I just think that's funny, and I kind of wanted to report it. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. I loved making this video. I'm probably going to try and make more like it for different games, obviously. And give this a try. Like, see if you can put this video in front of your friends. Try and get them to try this format out. It's a lot of fun, and it really elevates the game in a way that I just love to play. It takes everything I love about Commander and puts it into the Gundam TCG, and the Gundam TCG is just built so differently that it ends up being a lot of fun for me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Really, thank you so much. If you made it to this point, then like that means the world to me. And this is the kind of thing I want to do. So I'll see you next time, and just have an incredible day.